Teachers of Reddit, what was your, oh fuck that's impressive but I still have to punish the kid, moment? First 6 months of teaching. Grade 8 English. Kid did a 360 on one leg of his chair. I was impressed but gave him a time out because it was dangerous. Part of the requirement for time out was that students identify what got them sent out in the first place. I did a mad 360 on my chair but Miss said it wasn't safe. I've still got that timeout sheet on my desk 2.5 years later. Yes, Ethan, it was a mad 360. But it was still dangerous. A student in one of the schools I work at had as close to a full-service bar and smoke shop set up in a couple of lockers as you can get. The lockers were located in a corner of the hallway that is easily obscured and difficult to monitor. The kid just slapped his own locks on there and nobody noticed. When he was caught, the lockers were found to have several makeshift shelves in them, and contained several bottles of hard liquor, some solo cups, and paper shot glasses in one of them. The other contained a backpack containing some weed and various other drug paraphernalia for sale. The kid had quite the little enterprise going and God knows how much money he made before he got caught. I was shown pictures of what was in the locker, and I had to admit, given what he had to work with, it was quite an impressive setup. Of course, I'm sure he was brought up on a significant number of charges. But still, even the principal had to give him credit for the setup. I can't remember the question that was asked of my niece, about 6 at the time, but she stood up in the class and said, "Sister Bernadette's a bitch," sister as in a nun. The teacher told my sister, normal sister, not a nun, that whilst she couldn't condone the behavior, Sister Bernadette was in fact a total bitch. They had a good laugh about it. Not a teacher, but teacher adjacent. I was on recess duty with a bunch of 7 to 9-year-olds one day, and this kid ran up to me to point out a couple of other kids fighting. I turn around, and yep, looked like a fight. As I went over there, a couple things stood out. The two fighting were besties, so it was weird that they were fighting, and they were making sound effects. Dudes were playing out some epic Star Wars battle, complete with stick sabers and the blaster noises and everything. Their stunt coordination was on point, y'all. I had to make them put down the sticks and holster their finger guns. By the rules, I should have sent them to the principal to be suspended for the finger guns, but that's ridiculous for consensual play acting, so no, but commended them on how real it all looked. Not a teacher, but I remember in high school kid fought off a bully. His two friends tried to help beat him up and the kid beat all three of them up. Jumps on the one who started it and beat him till he couldn't open either eyes. The coach who saw this pulls him off and once settled down asked him, "Did you do all this to them yourself?" And the kid, still angry but pretty casually, goes, "And I'll fucking do it again if these douchebags haven't learned anything." And the coach goes, "You may have to. I think you hit them so hard they're gonna have to learn their ABCs again too." Anyways, long story short, the kid got arrested and expelled. Never came back to school. But the coach said he was impressed and wished the kid only got suspended for a bit instead of expelled. I overheard the wrestling team saying that coach and the coach who split it up, gymnastics coach, had the security footage and would show it to their varsity teams. Only the initial bully got expelled too. He was a regular offender, hence why no one felt bad about his. His friends only got minor suspensions because they were trying to break it up and come to a friend's aid. I went to a high school. Pretty diverse. Lots of fights. In a school I used to work in, as a net in Asia, there was a kid who was frequently in trouble but at his core was a good kid. He was always late, failing exams, not doing homework or having arguments with teachers over stuff. He only argued if he genuinely felt the teacher was in the wrong. At times they were, however he was a genuine and funny kid and just lacked motivation. He was also kinda picked on by a group of boys in his class. Now as an English teacher I assigned the kids into groups and asked them to write a song, rap, poem that they could perform for the class in English. This kid decided it was his chance to destroy the guys in his class picking on him. He whipped out a rap that wrecked them, which included 2 lines. "Get all the chicks, but it's hard to please with their tiny dicks." I had to punish him, but god damn I was impressed. Back in the day my friend found an exploit in the school laptops that allowed him administrator access. It was pretty clever. He brought it up to IT. Problem was it was very obscure and no one would have been looking for such an exploit unless they wanted to bypass the school's security. So he got suspended. After grading an exam, I realized 2 students were cheating because they had the same answer. I knew who had copied since one of them had straight A all over the semester while the other was struggling. So, as I did not saw the cheat happening, I gave a chance to both come out and tell the truth and said, okay, the one who copied will receive 0 and the one who really did it will receive half the grade. So which of you really did the original answer? I was expecting the cheater to come clean or the A student to try to not get punished. The problem was that the cheater stayed in silence while the A student took the blame. Later that day the A student called me to say his friend was going through hard times with his family and needed some help with his grades, so he helped. I was a student in class at the time, but we had this kid named Michael, and for whatever reason some of the other kids called him Mickle, pronounced like pickle. In music class, a room designed for sounds to travel, a kid passed a note to him that said, "I'll give you a nickel if you tickle my pickle, Mickle." And the music teacher snatched it and read it aloud. I don't think she realized what she read till it was too late, but I could tell she was holding in a giggle. In 9th grade our school got a vending machine for soft drinks and water. They all were damn expensive, €3 per 0, 5L, and the pledge, don't know if this is the right translation, money you get back when you return it, was €5. All students and most of the teachers said it was too expensive and wanted it removed cause younger students spent all their lunch money on one Sprite. The machine had a return slot for the empty bottles. So we ripped one label of one bottle and printed it like 1,000 times. Every time someone wanted to drink something we put 6 copies of the little paper in the machine and basically got a drink for free. It went down for about 2 weeks until one of the teachers caught us. We had to do detention. But a couple years after school we met him again and he told us he really liked it cause the soft drinks were way too expensive anyway. I teach a tech certification class here for a local nonprofit. Just a week or so ago I was walking the students through using Task Scheduler in Windows when my phone started to blow up with emails. Turns out one of the students created a dozen scheduled tasks to send me an email every 5 minutes. Title: Cats 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 body. Cats 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 cats. You get the picture. Needless to say, his punishment came in the form of a scheduled task running as a service on his PC that randomly ejects the optical drive at different intervals. He has not figured out why this is happening yet, and it's forcing him to learn how to troubleshoot an issue, so I see it as a win. Edit. This blew up. I want to let everyone know I would love to engage, talk about this, but it'll be a while as I am moving to a new condo today, so I'll get around to responding when I'm able. Thanks for all of this though. Eases my anxiety. I'm not a teacher but I work in IT in a big school. Guy came in asking us as we could put his PDFs in the right order. It was a bunch of comic book artwork that was part of his A-level art project. So we slotted all the pages into a nice PDF and he promptly went off and printed several hundred copies to sell to his mates. We pulled him as he was by far the biggest print user for the day and he got some shit for it. Last I heard of him he was demoing his comics at a festival in Germany and doing rather well. Not a teacher, but when my mad lad English teacher was in school he was voted in by his peers as prefect after he promised them vending machines and pool tables. He then told everyone that he lied about putting in vending machines and pool tables and explained why democracy is inherently flawed. Our class teacher, dunno what's the right word, he was basically the teacher responsible for us, really had to hold back his laughter when punishing a guy in my class. That dude managed to redneck engineer a smoke bomb that made the classroom unusable for 2 days, in like 15 minutes. We all probably inhaled not so healthy fumes that day. But damn it was impressive, especially when comparing it to the YT tutorial he followed. My school hired 2 really bad teachers last year to teach math and ELA as part of my 6th grade team. One hated kids, Ms. Trunchbullesque, the other was just so bad at her job. Couldn't control a classroom, made questionable life decisions, microwaved fish in her classroom, then covered the smell with peppermint oil, and never gave kids second chances. Once you were on her bad side you stayed there. Anyway, her class was rowdy as ever, and as the team led I'd stop in and check on the kids every once in a while to help maintain some semblance of peace, but this day I checked in too late and one kid was up on his chair, oh Captain style, listing off all the ways that this particular teacher was terrible, and how she was picking on certain kids, etc. While impressive, I had to pull the kid from class, which resulted in a detention. We spent the detention going over HW, playing cards, and watching the HS soccer game. I'm not a teacher but a student who witnessed the whole event. Where I go to, you can get detention for drawing or vandalizing the school bathrooms. Anyways, a friend of mine who happened to be an artist himself thought it would be a good idea to paint the Mona Lisa on one of the bathroom stalls, and it was so impressive one might even think he copied and pasted the actual painting onto the stall. After lunch everyone was gathering around to look at this masterpiece, and the school had to look at the security cameras to find the culprit, and they gave the kid a 2-day suspension plus having to clean up the painting, which is bull asterisk 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 asterisk. I may still have a picture of the painting if I can find it. My wife told me a story of how a kid put wax strips on his eyebrows and rat tash. Pube stash for those across the pond, laughed her head off whilst telling him to pull them off. In high school, a male senior went to his girlfriend with a guitar and some other boys as chorus. It was Valentine's, so everyone thought it was love-filled melody for her. It was a ballad about how he found out she was fucking his best friend and tried to have sex with his older brother. The chorus kept repeating, "You're a slut. You're a slut." The senior boy and his chorus were suspended, but most of the teachers could not stop themselves from laughing every time the incident was brought up. I was the punished student. Here we have some little stick, about 3 centimeters long and 5 millimeters diameter, firecrackers that if you scratch them to rough surface it will create a little cracking sound. I invented a magnificent way to let them explode. Put the firecrackers below a stone, then fricking stomp it. Literally the sound was like a flat tire and actually a bit deafening. I try it outside my class. The principal was walking by. The whole school heard it. Every eyes were on me. The principal immediately dragged me to his office, threatening me to call the police. I was underage and firecrackers should only be used with adult supervision, and he did make a phone call. I started crying my tears out begging him not to call the police. Few years later I realized that he was calling his family in his local language and dialect. Not a teacher, but a memory from high school. Freshman, history class. I'm sitting in the back with my bud, and I got the idea to whisper, "mass debate," in my bud's ear next to me. So I do, once, then again a few minutes later, and again a few minutes later, lather rinse repeat. After about 12 minutes, he goes, "Dude shut up," and the teacher goes, "Hey, you two, stop talking." He keeps whispering, "mass debate." In my ear, room bursts into laughter, including teacher, and amazingly neither of us were punished. But I was known as classroom masturbator for the rest of the year. I didn't get a lot of chicks that way. Not a teacher, but it's actually something I did. In high school, I made fake report cards and sold them for 4 years straight. I personally got caught because senior year final report cards are mailed, and unfortunately my father intercepted it before I could get it from the mailbox. It was a Saturday morning and I had just woken up. My mom informed me that my father was at the school dealing with an issue with my report card, and I instantly felt sick to my stomach, lol. When he came home, he wasn't even mad because realistically my grades weren't that bad, but I was basically giving myself straight A's B's when I was indeed getting a C in some class, and he said that the principal and counselor mentioned that these were the absolute best fake report cards he'd ever seen. I was even asked for information on how I made them without triggering the security watermarks behind the print. My father brought me back to the school to apologize and show them how I did it. I made a lot of money and didn't really even get in trouble. It felt really weird and my father and I joke about it to this day, lol. I work IT now. I'm an art teacher. Had a student submit his art book with a great variety of different dick drawings. One was an impressive concoction of 2 cat heads as the testicles and a detailed, furry shaft. As was assessment, I had to ring his mother to let her know. Me, your son has handed in his assessment and it has penises drawn all over it, mother. I'm sorry you find my son's style of art offensive. Me, personally I am not offended, however it does go against our school's graffiti policy. Some kid was gonna jump on a huge carton of milk and spray a group of 20 kids. Some genius kid quickly ran up and sprayed it backwards all over him. He was head to toe white, Dripping with milk. First kid gets punished whilst covered in milk for instigating. My students had one kid distract me while I was grading tests, and another took a photo of the answer key. They thought it was like Mission Impossible. I realized when I graded their tests. There were many that I suspected weren't ready. I was going to let them work through corrections for credit back. Well, too many did better on this than they should have. One kid in particular, who consistently made D's, no matter what I tried, made a B on this stoichiometry test. The next day, the whole class had an open response quiz on the same material. Only 3 questions. After that, those kids would narc on each other left and right. I was working in a daycare, severely overworked with bad helpers and no teachers that day, all while all the doors were open because it was parents-teacher conference night. Had a mom come in and we couldn't find her son. It started off casual, like, oh, he's probably in the bathroom, before we started panicking, realizing we couldn't find him. The problem was, the last person I saw him with was a boy he wasn't supposed to be hanging out with because the boy had physically attacked him the day before, so I didn't want the mom to know they were playing. So we spent the longest 10 minutes of my life searching for this kid, before the bully boy knocks him out of an art cart, where he had hidden. As his mom broke down in tears, he casually explained that he was playing hide and seek against the bully. The mom was too happy she didn't care he was playing with the bully. Also thankful that I worked with this kid in another program, so his mom knew this wasn't my fault. Was impressed that that kid stayed hidden even as we screamed his name, and equally impressed that the bully found the kid in a near impossible spot to find him. I'm a student and the teacher didn't see, but I got to see a kid in my class wall run like 5 feet and jump off the wall, accidentally landing a perfect kick in another kid's privates. Boy in my class, seniors US high school, came to school in a Playboy shirt with a fully naked woman on the front. I sent him to the office to change and he came back pissed. I told him to sit down and continue his work. He kept grumbling and then suddenly stood up and said to the entire class, "Raise your hand if you don't think my shirt is offensive and you think it's bullshit that I had to change." Before I could say anything, a girl at another table whipped around and completely went off on him. She was saying, "Yes, I found your shirt offensive. No, you're not as rebellious or as cool as you think. You're selfish and think that buying from the Playboy brand makes you a playboy with your greasy ass hair and beer belly at 18. Shut the fuck up and don't wear pictures of naked women on your t-shirt. Is there a single woman in this class that finds you or that shirt attractive?" And then a long pause as we all sat there in silence. The boy was a major ass and gross and I felt everything the girl said, but I still had to talk to both of them about disruptions and yelling at the class. Not the teacher, but I was the kid. In class with 2 friends and were being the usual 15-year-old assholes that just want to disrupt the class for no particular reason. We eventually decree that we'll just leave. Teacher declares loudly that we'll be suspended if we walk out the door, so we cross the room and jump out the window instead. Unsurprisingly, we end up in the principal's office in fairly short order, where said principal walks in and takes a seat at his desk, fixing the 3 of us with his most practiced look of being unimpressed. Principal: "Gentlemen, any reason why I shouldn't suspend you all immediately?" Me in moment of inspiration: "Well, we certainly didn't disobey the teacher." Principal: eyebrow raised: "And how do you come to that conclusion, Sinkenquicken?" Me: "We were told that we would be suspended if we were to walk out the door, and we never did, but I think it's fair to point out we were never told we couldn't jump out the window, which we actually did instead." Principal removes glasses and displaying a superhuman effort to contain a no doubt immense rage: "Sinkenquicken, you'll possibly make a good lawyer one day, however today is not that day, get out of my sight." I'm an English teacher in Spain and one of my students, 8Y, started screaming and cursing at another student in near-perfect English. I was so impressed by his pronunciation and use of the various abusive terms, I almost gave him a house point until I remembered I'm meant to be a responsible professional. My GF is a teacher. Yesterday she had to punish a 12-year-old who beat up his bullies. To be fair, he only got one, the rest ran away. And #X200B. Edit: it wasn't cool, the bullied kid just lost it and freaked the fuck out. My GF said it looked scary but also kind of funny. We agreed that we're proud of him and my GF called the parents to tell them the whole story, including bullying. He's not allowed back in school for the rest of the week. My coworker and I discovered that one of our students was running an underground crime syndicate selling individual icebreaker mints for 50 cents a pop. We agreed not to punish him or inform the administration, but we did confront him privately and told him he needed to stop before it got him in trouble. He had about a half dozen employees and was selling at every grade level by the time we put an end to it. Kid was a C student at best, but he's definitely going places. I had a classmate jump on the teacher's computer and visit a website that would go full screen and make it seem like it was a Mac now instead of a PC. It was April's Fool's Day and this was his prank. This was in like 2003, so security wasn't the conversation it is today. Anyway, he still got in trouble. The teacher got really angry and kind of yelled at him to sit down in the corner. She called in the vice principal, then the principal, then the on-campus police office, and then when he was good and terrified, all four turned to him and said, "April Fools," and let him off the hook. He got his punishment though. He was terrified. The first time I caught students cheating, it was two 8th grade girls that had all of the same wrong answers on a vocabulary matching test. I pulled the girls aside after class to ask about it, and after some sheepish grins they both admitted that a third girl, their friend who was an A+ student, had fed them both incorrect answers on purpose. She screwed over her friends because she was pissed they were mooching. For punishment, the first two girls got to keep their very poor test grades. The mastermind got, "Your friends are mad at you," as her punishment. Natural consequences. I was a new teacher at a school that had a demerit system. Do something bad, get a demerit. At the end of the week, get punished for every demerit over 3. One kid talked like a sailor. I gave lots of warnings to prevent him from being punished to hell and back, but that didn't faze him. So he got demerits. Friday rolled around. Kid, Charlie 24601, how many demerits do I have? Me, 4, kid, what? What the hell for? Me, swearing, kid, that's fucking bullshit. My husband used to work in after-school care. One time he saw two kids starting to fight in the sandpit. He headed over to try to calm them down, but while he was on his way, one kid ran at the other, who just calmly flipped the first kid over his head like a textbook martial arts move. My husband said he had to stop himself from shouting, "Wow! Great job!" ESL teacher here. So I teach high school ESL class where most of my students either don't speak any English or they speak very little. I had a student in there who was constantly disruptive and liked to bully the other kids to establish his manliness. One day, the disruptive kid is doing his normal annoying shtick and out of nowhere, my quiet little Latina in the corner of the room, in the clearest pronounced English I've ever heard her speak, said, "You stupid motherfucker." I had to hold in a laugh. I then had a quick convo with her and congratulated her on the clear pronunciation but also told her she couldn't say that in class. Edit. I fixed my grammar. I shouldn't write posts when I'm half awake. Edit 2. Since people keep asking me, I did deal with the troublemaker after that lesson was over. I pulled him outside and gave him an ultimatum, and when he did it again, he got sent to ISS in school suspension. I just didn't include that part because it didn't have anything to do with the question. Also, in high school, acknowledging the troublemaker in middle of his troublemaking just fuels the fire more, and sometimes, ignoring the kid at the moment and talking to him later works better. Thanks for watching. See you later.